Hello and welcome to this exciting episode. My guests today, as I mentioned in the last couple of weeks, are going to be business people and leaders in community that has made it somehow or the other. Mr. Hassen Kajie from Nexia SAB T is here, and he's going to talk to us a bit about his company and himself. Welcome to the program.
Thank you, Faizal. Thanks for having me on the show.
Now, I'm not sure when last someone has sat with you saying, let's talk about you and your company, and that's what I'm going to do today. Starting with Mr. Kajie. Who is Mr. Kajie?
Well, I'm Hassen Kajie, born on 16th of September 1954. That makes me 60 years old. I celebrated my 60th birthday in style a couple of months ago. I'll tell you about it later on if it's necessary. I'm the son of Abdul Ghaffur Kajie and Hawa Kajie, Nee Khan. And yes, I got four brothers including myself, and two sisters, and that's who I am.
But you know, people in the community knows you for various reasons. And one of it is that of late you've been appearing with your photo in the paper every week or every month. I think that's the Muslim views. And people know you for coming from Ernst & Young and the auditing and standing out there as a profound businessman. Where did all of that start?
Well, it started, when I left school, I did not know what I wanted to do. And unfortunately, or maybe fortunately, my parents didn't have a lot of money to send me full-time to university where I could study what I want to do. There were only two disciplines I could have focused on. That was law and accounting, where you can study part-time and work full-time. And I chose accounting, and the next thing I became a chartered accountant.
So was your inclination always towards that type of field, or because the fact that you mentioned that you weren't sure what you were going to do in the beginning and then headed into that, there must have been some liking, because for me it's not a field that someone could
There was never a liking. In fact, I never even did accounting at school.
Oh, that's interesting.
It was purely by default that I did accounting, but I can tell you, if I must live my life over, I wouldn't want to do anything else.
That's interesting, but so you found your space?
I found my space.
That's interesting, because I must be honest with you, it's one of those fields, I know there's lots of youth going into it, but it's one of those fields that I personally cannot see myself in. Busy crunching those numbers and dealing with it, it's too intense for me. But you found your space.
Well, I don't think it is crunching numbers anymore. I suppose when you're studying and you've got to study accounting and you've got to study income tax and those things, you've got to crunch numbers. But once you qualify, you get other people to do it for you. And you basically consult, you advise people, and you give guidance to people. And that's what I do most of the time. I consult, I give advice, and I review the work that my staff does.
Now, there are many chartered accountants in the country, and there are many people from our community that are, I would say, big in what they do in your field, but you're one of those people that stand out because you've gone past certain levels in business and people recognize you for what you do. You're part of a huge concern, Nexia SAB T, and you've come from a huge concern, Ernst & Young. How did that all happen? Was there another drive alongside you that said, I don't want to be the normal accountant sitting in my office doing what I do?
Basically, when I I did my training with a small firm of chartered accountants, namely Christian Martin in Athlone. In fact, it was the only black firm of chartered accountants in Cape Town. I qualified while being at Christian Martin. And when I qualified, I decided to do something a bit different, and I went to lecture at the University of the Western Cape in accounting.
Oh, that's interesting.
I lectured for 4 years, and while I was lecturing, I started doing private accounting work from home to supplement my income. You know, university lecturers don't earn a lot of money. And with the result, I was running 2 jobs. I was lecturing at the UWC, and I was running my small practice on my own. And eventually, my private practice was becoming a bit too big for me, and I wasn't doing justice to my lecturing responsibilities. and I took the moral decision to decide to resign as a lecturer, and to go full-time in practice. My intention was to go on my own, but then two gentlemen heard about my going into the profession, and it's important to mention these two gentlemen. The one is Mustak Bray, who's now chairman of Brimstone, and the other one is Shaukan Mukadam, who's running a very successful fiduciary services company. Those are two people that were running a company, and they approached me and said, Hassan, instead of reinventing the wheel and starting on, come and join us because we need a third partner. In 1989, I joined Mustak Bray and Shaukan Mukadam, and we practiced as Brand Associates for a very long time. Mustak started Brimstone and he went on his own. Shaukat joined Ale Clothing. When Mustak and Shaukat left, I took on other partners, namely the likes of Harun Logad, Iqbal Khan, Ruth Benjamin Swells, Pete Smith. Those were my partners going forward. And we then did a merger with a company called Kabodo Chartered Accountants, a national firm of chartered accountants, the biggest black firm of chartered accountants in the country. And subsequent to that, the Western Cape office of Kabodo did a merger with Ernst & Young. And that's where I became a partner in Ernst & Young. But it's important to note that in all my years of practice, my speciality and my focus was on family business. I won't say small business, I would say family business. Most of my clients were the up-and-coming family, successful family business in the community. And when I moved over to Ernst & Young, I was a bit reluctant initially to join Ernst & Young because I felt that I would not have been able to service these clients which I've built up over the years in an environment of Ernst & Young. Bearing in mind, Ernst & Young is a big accounting firm. They don't focus on small business, they don't focus on family business. And I then, again, wanted to go on my own to look after those clients which has been with me for all the years. Under some persuasion of my partners and to keep the partnership intact, I agreed to join them at Ernst & Young with the view that if it's not in the interests of myself and the interests of my clients, I can exit whenever I want to. I was with Ernst & Young for a year when I realized that Ernst & Young wasn't the right fit for my clients, and my clients were very uncomfortable having a big international firm as their accountants and auditors. Excuse me. It was then that I tendered my resignation at Ernst & Young. I gave 6 months resignation.
6 months?
6 months because it was a process which I had to
hand over,
not really hand over, but to move over and into the new company and also to make the exit as comfortable as possible. At that time, the CEO of SAB T, well, before that time, the CEO of SAB T, Bashir Adam, heard that I wasn't too happy at Ernst & Young and that I got a big portfolio of clients, and he approached me and said, listen, Hassan, don't you want to join our company, SAB T? At that time, SAB T had an office in Cape Town, a small office in Cape Town, doing primarily government work for the Auditor General. And by me joining the firm with all my private sector clients, we could have boosted the private sector part of the business. And in 1990, I joined SAB T, and happily, I'm still there today.
The Nexia component, what's the Nexia component to you?
The Nexia component, Nexia is an international brand.
Right.
We, SAB T, and 2 or 3 other firms in South Africa are part of the Nexia brand. It's an affiliation of audit firms throughout the world, going as far as the UK, the USA, Saudi Arabia, India, Pakistan, Bangladesh. There are lots of audit firms that are affiliated to the Nexia brand. It's a affiliation where, being part of the Nexia group, We share and interchange ideas, and we get our technical support from them, international exposure. We also second staff to them, and they second staff. So it gives our staff an opportunity to work abroad by means of secondments, and it also gives our firm the opportunity of getting international clients, because a client in the UK, for example, if they've got a subsidiary in South Africa, they will refer that client to a Nexia, a member firm, and that's where we get the benefit of that as well.
Of course, so that all goes hand in hand. But now sitting back, and you say that you've just celebrated your 60th birthday and you've traveled along this road, which in a nutshell, as you mentioned it, but it seems like a long road. And I keep on mentioning this to many of my guests, that I recently watched this clip with Oprah where she was talking about people and mistakes and failures and things they do and they move along that are not necessarily mistakes or failures to get them in their final destination. They are just these things that push you in the right direction, where you eventually sit back one day saying, I found my space.
Yeah.
And that's happened twice now already. But your day at work every day, now that you have other people working for you and you don't do the work really, so what do you really do?
Well, before I answer that question, you asked me how did I find my space, and it must have been a long road, and in a nutshell, tell me about it. Well, Faizal, I believe that you've got to be passionate about what you do. If you're passionate and you enjoy doing what you do, and you have one thing in mind, and that is efficiency and honesty. I believe that is the two basic principles in our practice: honesty and efficiency. And I get clients coming to me and say, listen, I heard that you guys get things done, you people are efficient. Sometimes we cannot please all clients all the time, but if we are honest enough and say, listen, we can't do the job by this deadline because of this, but we can do it within a week later, whatever, and be honest about it. That is what clients want. They want certainty. They want efficient people dealing with their affairs. And over the years, I'm proud to say that I lost very, very few clients in the 30 years that I've been in practice. 30 years, yes, it is 30 years. I've lost very, very few clients, and the clients which I lost was possibly for reasons not in my control. When I joined Ernst & Young, there were 2 or 3 clients that left because they didn't like the environment and the fee structure. But the moment I left Ernst & Young, they came back to me, which means that they had faith in me, had the confidence in me, because I believe in honesty and I believe in efficiency. I try to get things done, and I don't beat about the bush and look for excuses. Coming back to the present, as I say, I spend most of my time now reviewing the work of my staff. I sit personally with my clients. I don't hand that over to anybody.
So you still have that with clients that you're dealing with it?
I still, even if all the work is done by staff, at least the final meeting where we approve the financial statements.
And I suppose clients like that?
Absolutely, absolutely. They don't mind who works on my work as long as I see the final product, and as long as I sit with them and go through the final product with them and have my blessings, and that is what they want. So I spend most of my time reviewing the work that my staff do. I spend my time sitting with my clients, going through the final financial statements with them, give them tax advice, give them business advice, estate planning advice, etc. And the rest of my time I am consulting on new business. I'm consulting on existing clients when they get into a new venture and they want advice. They will come to me and say, listen, what's your opinion? How do you do it? And by having people doing my work, it frees me off to give that expertise and give that experience and pass on that experience and advice to my clients.
Mr. Kajie, thank you for that information. We're going to go off to an ad break. When we come back, we will discuss Mr. Kajie, his personal life, a little bit about it, the family life rather, and more about what he thinks goes for the future for people that want to go into this field that he's in.